getting back to karma, everyone knows about the normal aspect of karma, doing good, doing bad, getting bad. But there are other forms of karma too. When you're about to die, the karma which has an effect and causes you to take rebirth somewhere, it could be the first one which gets in the queue is actually the weighty karma, the heaviest karma, such as if you've killed an arahant or one of your parents, and then you'd be definitely off to the lowest hell for an eon, no escaping that. But then you've got what they call sort of habitual karma, things that you do regularly, but also the one which could, so you might have been a good person all your life trying to do good, but on your deathbed you might be thinking something bad, and this they call death proximate karma. So it's very important when you're actually dying to be of a good frame of mind, thinking good thoughts, remembering good past actions when you're making merit and things like this, not remembering something bad because it causes you to feel sorry and might lead you to get reborn in a bad way. There's a story where during the Buddha's time there was a king and queen, somebody like this, and they were followers of his and liked to make merit, particularly the queen. She was very devout and spent a very good life. But when she died, she went to hell because on her deathbed she happened to be thinking about when she'd told a lie to her husband once. And this led her to be reborn in hell just for 7 days. Now the king knew that the Buddha could know the future and know where people had been reborn and things. So he asked the Buddha, he said, well, where's my queen taken rebirth? And the Buddha didn't want to discourage him, so he didn't answer. He never tell a lie, so he just didn't answer. Started talking about the Dharma and gave him a nice Dharma talk, and the guy, very pleased with that, started on his way home and I never did get an answer for that question, He put him off like this for 7 days, And then on the 7th day, he said, because she left hell and went to the heavens. So, she's gone to the heavens. He didn't want to break his understanding, because he thought, she's been good all this time and then ends up in hell. What is this karma business? It doesn't seem to work. So he was using a good way of putting the guy off from learning the truth, so that's very important, not only for ourselves, if we get the chance to prepare for our death. Know we're dying, if you're dying of old age or something, or something else, you get a chance to prepare yourself, and you can try and, if you've done meditation, meditate until you die, certainly think about good things, not bad things. And if you're able to be there at the bedside when somebody's dying, your mother, relatives or somebody, you can even say to them, if they've been a Buddhist, you can say, try and meditate or think of chanting, the Buddha and things like this. Or if they're not Buddhist, they're Christian, then just remember the good things you've done, in life, how you've helped people. Don't worry and don't think about leaving and what the rest of the family's going to happen to them and all that. So that's important, that death proximate karma. And they also reckon that those who practice meditation regularly are unlikely to lose their mind, get things like Alzheimer's, and sort of get, a lot of people when they get older get very forgetful, and they're a bit of a burden on the relatives having to take care of them. They can't do much for themselves. But if you practice meditation, training the mind, you're unlikely to get to that kind of state. You're also unlikely to die in an accident. Some people are driving along in a car, one moment you're alive, bang, the next second you're dead. You don't even, no time to prepare for a death or anything, and it's a big shock. So a couple of sort of stories, I suppose. Imagine there's a guy gets hit by a car. The car's driven by a drunken driver, and he goes to hospital and recovers from his injuries, but he's been paralysed. so he's got to spend the rest of his life in a wheelchair. An ordinary person, say an atheist or even a Christian, somebody whose belief is that they've only got one life, one chance, they're going to feel really bad about it and think, oh look, my whole life's been ruined and I can't do the sports I used to enjoy, you know, no woman's going to be interested in me sat in this wheelchair. They'll be feeling very sorry for themselves. They might even be feeling angry and hate the guy who did it, you know. He got scot-free, he should have been in prison, you know, it's not fair, you know, why has this happened to me, you know. They think they've only got one life, one chance and it's been ruined, you know. So hating is never good. It's always bad to hate people and wish ills on them. So you're creating a karmic link. So besides having a miserable life, wishing it hadn't happened and thinking you're done badly, when you die you might still be even thinking about this, and the death proximate karma could cause you to go to a bad rebirth. And then when you come back to human again, you've sort of created a link with that person, so you probably meet again and something happened. Now, Buddhist, I suppose it was me in that situation, I would probably say, okay, well look, this guy's, I've been involved in an accident, it's not a small thing. I must have caused it in my past life, one of my past lives I created this cause, otherwise it wouldn't be the result. So fine, you know, get on with your life, mate, good luck, you don't go to prison or anything, have a good time, I don't hold it against you, I'll forgive you, you know. So I'm not sitting there miserable and thinking, oh, why me? I know that we have many, many lives, many chances, so this is not my one and only chance ruined, you know. I can still get around in a wheelchair, I can still read Dharma books, I can still meditate, I can watch things, you know, that you see before Olympics, they have the Paralympics every time, and the people who are determined could do many things even though they're disabled. So you don't have to let it ruin your life. And so I wouldn't have the same situation. I probably wouldn't be thinking bad things and creating a karmic link with that person. So totally different situation, just because of my different understanding on what's real, you know. And also I try and make people imagine a pendulum. Okay. This pendulum is our existence as long as we're still in samsara, we're being born and living our life. So, on one side of the pendulum is suffering, the other side is pleasure. Nobody wants to suffer. But because of impermanence, the thing keeps moving, you know. It goes from one extreme to the other. Now, people try and hold the needle and stop it moving on the side of pleasure. Nobody wants to hold it on the side of suffering, but they want to hold it on the side of pleasure and not allow it to move, but that can't happen, it's got to keep moving. So people go from high to low. Now, somebody who understands the Dharma, they understand the cause of suffering and that it's okay, it's suffering, but most of the suffering is mental. So if you understand the causes for it and don't get caught up in it, and you suffer less, you know. You don't let the suffering bother you so much. And the pleasures, although they're nice, you don't get so attached to them and crave them and desire them. So, oh no, the peace is nice, fine, you know. The meal's great, okay. If it's not okay, fine, it doesn't matter. You know. So it's as though the pendulum's starting to slow down. Doesn't go to the extremes anymore. You don't suffer so much. You don't get so attached to the pleasures. And eventually, of course, it stops in the middle, which is perfect peace, escaping both the extremes of pleasure and suffering. And that's what nirvana's like. You know, you're just at peace. As your understanding of the Dharma gets better, you know, you start to. It's as though the pendulum slows down, really. It's up to all of us to help ourselves, to do the practice ourselves. Nobody can do it for us. Any questions at the moment on the past? Which you want to put a question?
It left me. I had one. I didn't want to do that. question.
Would you say that
Most of the main-
suffering is important in life?
Eh?
Would you say that suffering is
It's not important, but it's inevitable. You know, we're inevitably going to meet suffering as long as we're alive. I mean, that's why the Buddha said, you know, to escape suffering, we've got to stop being born. And the only way to do that is by practicing the vipassana and reaching nirvana. Suffering, of course, isn't necessarily intense physical pain from illness or injury. Suffering can be any minor irritation. Oh, that mosquito's annoying me, you know, or that dog barking annoying me, you know, just not getting what you want, getting what you don't want, you know. Even when we're asleep we suffer. The body, you know, the gravity pulls the body fluids down and they start to the body gets uncomfortable, and so it makes you roll over, you know, to adjust the things. And so these are minor suffering. If you actually looked at any day, how much of it is really pleasurable and how much of it's, I think the vast majority of the time it would be most minor irritations and sufferings. We wouldn't call it suffering, but it is. It's, you know, it's this discomfort. So, but as I say, it's mostly mental that causes it. You know, you get a kid at the marketplace with his parents, and he wants an ice cream. And the parent says, "Oh, sorry, we can't. Haven't got time, or we can't afford it." And he starts to throw a tantrum. You know, they're making themselves suffer. You know, over his desire and craving for something and not having it fulfilled. He's suffering. Another kid over there, he hasn't got an ice cream either, but he hasn't got this great desire, so he's not suffering. So most of the suffering we make ourselves because of our misunderstanding of reality. You know, the main teachings of Buddhism, they talk about the Four Noble Truths, which was the first teaching the Buddha gave. And the first noble truth is the truth of suffering, understanding that suffering exists. What the cause is, mostly our cravings and desires, and the craving for re-existence. You know, we don't want to disappear. So even though lives are often quite bad and uncomfortable, we'd still rather have them than not be alive at all. So there's this continued craving, and of course we're producing karma all the time. Until we understand the truth about the Dharma, we're producing karma, and that's going to cause us to come back. So the first noble truth is the truth that there is suffering. The second is the cause of suffering, as I say, which is our ignorance of the truth and craving for re-existence. The third noble truth is that this suffering can come to an end. There is an end to suffering. It's called nirvana. And the fourth noble truth is the way to reach nirvana, and it's called the Eightfold Path, which has right view, right understanding, right speech, right action, right mindfulness, right concentration, right employment. You know, take work in a job which isn't going to cause suffering. You know, so you shouldn't work in selling weapons, creating weapons. You know, selling poisons, selling and dealing in human beings. You know, a butcher killing animals. You know, this kind of thing. So if your employment is something which is going to create suffering, you should avoid it. Even something like the advertising industry is not probably always good, because a lot of the time it's just a pack of lies you're telling people. And encourage them to buy something which you know is rubbish.
Creating desire.
Yeah, creating desire and cheating people because you're telling them this is great, this cure is everything, and it doesn't. You know, it doesn't. It's just.
Well, actually, it's funny. I watched a documentary about advertising and how basically what they did was, you know, the 7 sins. They basically took those and used them as their marketing devices. Lust, greed, envy. You know. So So it was pretty interesting psychology to know that they're basically intentionally practicing wrong speech in order to play on people's insecurities. And
If they've got his money, then they'll do anything to get it, you know. So I think I said at the beginning that this birth we've got is very precious, that we're born human, we're born healthy, we're born able to choose make our own choice about religions, come and meet the teachings. We're born when the teachings are still available, they haven't died out yet. We're born when there's more than one Buddha in the eon, so we've still got yet another chance sometime in the distant future. But why wait millions of years until the next Buddha comes, you know? You've got the chance to practice and escape within a very few lifetimes. So we've got so many really good opportunities. If we waste them, it's our own fault.
My question was that we have such attachments to our families, and our parents were supposed to be, you know, respectful to them as arahants, or as we would to an arahant.
Yeah.
In future lives or in other lives, do you have any connection with, or is it said in the Buddhist teaching that there are any connections with these same beings,
Certainly, yes.
these same
But
souls?
the people we often create the most karma with are those relatives we're close to. You know, the first 20 years of our life we're at home with our parents and brothers and sisters. So we do create bad and good karma together.
Yes.
And so you quite often get that same group of beings born close together for many lifetimes.
Yeah.
Different relationship, but the same. So your father in his life might be your son in your next life. You know, your mother might be your daughter or something like this. It's a different relationship, but the same group of beings are often close together. And the Buddha said it's very hard to meet somebody who hasn't in the past been a close relative of yours. The Tibetans go as far as saying almost any being has once been your mother, you know, because the past is infinite,
So
you know,
many
it could have been, you know.
Wow.
So if you treat all beings, you know, if you try and act like an arahant, if you want to eventually get an arahant, act like an arahant. The only person who really loves truly in the world is an arahant, because he loves all beings equally, no favoritism.
Right.
And he doesn't expect anything back. He just loves and feels pity, you know, you feel pity for those beings which you know don't know the truth and are doing wrong or struggling along, and they've got a long way to go before they get the chance that we've got. You know, the dogs, and I mean the dog living in the temple is probably getting close to getting back to being a human. You know, it's got a chance of hearing this teaching. It might be dying and it listens to the monks chanting, and that can cause it to get a good rebirth, you know. But most animals are living in the wild, and they've got very little opportunity to escape like that.
If you're an animal, it's probably better off being born like a herbivore, huh?
Well, yeah, I mean that tiger I said that created karma by killing deers and pigs and things, you know, it might be a tiger for 500 lives, and then it might be reborn as a deer or a pig for 500 lives, being eaten by tigers. But while it's a pig or a deer, it's not annoying other creatures, it's not
Right.
Plants and
so it's still paying off bad karma, but it's not creating so much bad karma itself.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow.
Very complex. Karma is very complex. But it's very just, and you know you can't cheat it. It's
Really, the
perfectly
house dog.
just.
The house dog is like your best.
Well, a lot of them are quite pampered in the West, but to be quite honest, most dogs in the world don't get that kind of attention. You know, throughout the world, most dogs are just like entirely, you know, they have to fend for themselves and left outside, and if they get fed, they're lucky, you know.
Yeah.
You know, some people would say that like in order to really like understand joy, you will have had to have gone through some suffering.
I don't know. But we've all gone through suffering anyway. Nobody doesn't need suffering at some days. And also, as far as karmas go, don't think, there's this beggar here beside the road, maybe crippled. He's obviously suffering from past karma. He's been born poor, he's been born crippled. If you don't say, well, that's his karma, and just walk past and ignore him, serves him right. No, you still do your best to try and help him. You don't say, oh, I'm going to interfere with his karma if I'm going to help him. That's not right. No, don't think that at all. You still try and relieve other people's suffering as much as you can. You're not disturbing his karma. You might be by helping him, you might be some of his good karma having an effect, which is helping to relieve his bad karma suffering. So I don't think that you should leave him alone and not help. Some people are a bit unsure about that.
Yeah. Did the Buddha teach fate?
No, not really. Fate.
Yeah.
I mean, the Hindu understanding of karma is about fate, that everything's predestined, and it's my karma to be born in this low caste, and what can I do? I can't do anything to change it. You can do it. You can change it. We've still got free will,
right.
And we can. I'm changing my karma now. I'm keeping the precepts as well as I can from today on. The past and what I did wrong, forget it. Don't worry about it. It's not going to help. It's going to give you a headache and make you feel bad. So it's done, and from now on, I'm making a change. And you can change. It's not fixed. So that would be a bit. If it was all predestined, you haven't really got any free will. I mean, really, even the Christians just say that God made you, and if He, all-knowing God, He made this being, this new soul, and He knows the future, so He knows just going to make a mistake and muck it up and end up in hell. So you're creating a being knowing that it's going to suffer for eternity. What kind of a compassionate God is that? It's not compassionate, is it? It doesn't make sense. It's not logical. God's got to be better than that, So the Buddhists don't believe there is a God. It's not logical that there would be. If you say, well, God created everything, well, who created God? Well, it doesn't work, does it? It's not logic. That's why I like Buddhism, because it's very logical. It makes sense, and it's fair. Okay then.
Okay, great. Yeah,
So,
3 o'clock.
Yeah.
Very good.